Good evening. This is Dr. Thomas Klein, representing and speaking for the National Pain Council. I'm also the executive director. Jonelle Eljaway can be seen on Facebook explaining things to the general public. She has painful disease herself and so has a good perspective on things. We talked about privacy issues coming out of the prescription drug monitoring program at the Heller School at Brandeis University, grossly violating people's private rights. They can send out what are called unsolicited reports to the police department. They're spying on you and the doctors who treat you. This is what secret police services do in other countries. They spy on people, then they turn them in without the people knowing. The PDMP is part of your medical record. It has lists of drugs the government is concerned about called controlled substances. So that includes Adderall, and it includes Valium and Xanax, and it includes testosterone for weightlifters. It includes, of course, opiate pain medicines. So this is kind of like part of your medical record. And it ends up on a computer run by the government, and the states participate paying $1 million a year to a company called APRIS, A-P-P-R-I-S-S, now called Bamboo, that helps pull the data at the state level and feed it back to the computers at the DEA. And then they can gather and do analytics, which means they're going to count the number of pain prescriptions and the dosages. So the police are following dosages of a drug that the FDA, who's in charge, says there are no dose limits. But they have been convinced by the Trifecta, which is the DEA, PROP, Physicians for Responsible Opioid Prescribing, and the CDC. That Trifecta has come up with dose ranges that the FDA never approved, even though asked. The FDA was asked by PROP, the middle member of the Trifecta, to put limits on pain medicines, either who couldn't take them too long or lower doses. And the FDA spent 9 months with their scientists looking over this very carefully. And the report can be obtained by typing in FDA 2012-P as in Paul, -0818. Read the report for yourself. The first part of the report is about long-acting drugs. You can skip that. You get to the second part of the report is about opiate pain medicines. So is it okay for the government to set up a computer program that the pharmacists feed into, doctors feed into, and they're giving that part of your medical record away to the police department at the Department of Justice? We're the only country in the world that has a dedicated federal police force. Only one. We're the only country in the world where doctors like me had to obtain a DEA license from the federal government in order to prescribe controlled substances that might be abused, that worry the government. I had to have a separate license. And you see how they can control things. They pulled my license. So I wasn't able to take care of my 34 chronic pain patients. So that's how you control things. You set up, and Nixon set all this up, you set up a federal police force and then license the doctors. There's no reason to have a license other than to have the ability to take it away. Is this the DEA's fault? No. They're following the law. Don't blame the DEA. Even worse, the DEA is a branch down the hall of the Department of Justice. If you want to blame anybody, get Merrick Garland on the phone, or Merrick Garland, yeah. Get him on the phone and say, what are you doing? You've got all these doctors in prison that never broke the drug trafficking law, and why are they still there? A year after the Supreme Court said, you people just totally screwed up. You can't put doctors in prison because of their legal prescribing. Oh, they were prescribing illegally, they claimed. Then they hired doctors, $750 an hour, that we call assassins, and then they come to the trial with all this terrible stuff, and then they testify, and the juries go, oh, wow, this doctor's really cool, he must be right. Little do they know he's a millionaire because he testifies for the government every single trial in their favor. Expert witnesses usually have some for the defense, some for the, it's a kind of a fair deal. Not anymore. So back to the idea of the PDMP invading people's privacy. Louis Brandeis, the Supreme Court Justice, for which the university is named after, would roll over in his grave to know his university was developing a federal drug police surveillance system used to put doctors in prison based on analytics, which is looking at numbers. That's not the way you investigate crime. That's not what doctors are taught, to sit in front of computers and say, oh, he's driving too fast. He must be a car thief. So we have the classic Hippocratic Oath we're going to talk about today. I swear by Apollo the physician, Asclepius the surgeon, likewise Panacea, call to the gods, blah, 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 blah. This was 500 BC. So they, like doctors today, they like to be real flowery. So Hippocrates was really kind of our first doctor. There was always been shamans and things, but he made a profession out of it, and he started the first code of ethics for any profession called the Hippocratic Oath. He thought that doctors should have some ethical boundaries. Does that sound familiar? Our Supreme Court, ethical boundaries. Anyway, Hippocrates can be tied into that because he invented the idea of ethics. So, with regard to healing the sick, this is his original one, 500 BC. With regard to healing the sick, I will devise and order for them the best diet according to my judgment and means, and I will take care that they suffer no hurt or damage. Nor shall any man's entreaty prevail upon me to administer poison to anyone. He's talking about euthanasia. He would not perform abortions. Further, I will willingly refrain from doing any injury or wrong from falsehood or from acts of an amorous nature, whatever may be the rank of those it be my duty to cure, whether mistress or servant, bond or free. Bond means slave. Now, this is the most important part. There are only two parts. One is respect for other people, and the second part, if it be not proper to repeat it, I will keep sacred and secret within my own breast. He started the ethic of confidentiality. There's nothing in here about do no harm except what I just read, but the main thing is he established confidentiality for medical patients. So I thought I'd pass this around the Department of Defense and give it to all the DEA agents. Do you think that'll make a difference? Okay, doctors have violated their own Hippocratic Oath by allowing this to happen, and they need to all get together and say, this is not going to happen anymore. We need to get rid of this PDMP system, disallow the people at Brandeis to issue unsolicited reports based on their own internal red flags, which they will not disclose. They really are the Stasi. Thank you. And again, remember, if you want to contact us, National Pain Council at gmail.com. Thank you.